It's a long fly ball.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Dog Waters, touching bases with you guys with our new segment, which is called Out of Left Field. Basically, what this is my way of getting content to you guys faster, as opposed to the full-blown, drawn-out production, which sounds great, but it takes a little while. So I'm mixing this in. That way you don't have these large gaps where you don't get content because you guys asked for it. And essentially, I'll be talking to you similar to how I talk to a person on a radio interview. The only difference is I will add the sounds and background music into this. So it's a little bit more fluid and it's a little less rigid as far as, what I do. So that's what this is. Welcome to the very first one. Before I get started, let me address a few things. Number one, I did speak to King Spooky. I mean, not King Spooky, I keep saying King Spook. And we hammered out our differences. We both came to some agreements. We agreed that, again, it should have been handled in private, like I said, and it wasn't that big of a deal if it would have been handled in private. Then I talked to Unit 522. His beef was he felt like he was entitled to his opinion, and I said, hey, you're entitled to your opinion, I'm entitled to mine. We agreed to disagree, and we went on about our business. So those guys, we have no issues with them. For the record, I never, ever, ever, under any circumstances, want anyone to subscribe from another narrator because I have an issue with them, right? That's just not cool. And the reason being is a lot of these ladies and gentlemen, this is their stream of income. And when you start unsubscribing, then you start affecting their stream of income. And that is not something that I wish upon anybody. It's none of the beefs are that serious. I mean, we're talking about internet beef. I grew up in New Orleans in the 90s where we were the murder capital of the world. I won't go any further into it other than that, but I'll say that's the environment I grew up in. So this is the internet, and it's not that serious, So with that being said, I want to go into some of the stories. And basically, these are stories that have been told to me within the past 72 hours. One or two of them I'm going to add in because it's like my third time recording this. The first time, I did it in the middle of the night. And I freaked out because there was this growling noise that came through my headphones, completely freaked me out, so I stopped. And it was a growl, and it was right in my ear, and there was nothing around the growl, so I stopped, did my prayers, and went to bed because I was done. I was over it. So then the second time it crashed, the third time it crashed, so now I'm back at it, right? So the first thing we're going to talk about is the Army-Navy Hospital. I talked about this on Darkness Radio. You're going to hear me moving around a bit. Just last night. It's called Army-Navy Hospital, or another name for it is the Hot Springs Rehabilitation Center or the Arkansas Career Training Institute. If you Google this location, it has this building. It's this large brick building. Looks like some kind of, really looks like some kind of fortress, but it looks spooky as hell just looking at it online. And this story comes from a gentleman who was in rehab at this location. So he's there. Why he's in rehab, I asked. He said it wasn't for drugs, and that's particularly all I was caring about. I wanted to make sure he wasn't like on some kind of hallucinatory drugs when he experienced this. And so he went on to explain the story to me, and I'll relate it to you now. This gentleman is there, and these rooms, this rehabilitation center has individual rooms. And so imagine a studio apartment type room, not very, very big, but you have your own front door and your lock and key. You have a bed, you have a bathroom, you have a closet, you have a television, you have a little desk, right? This is his world. This is his environment. And he's laying in the bed. It's about 11:30, 11:45. Laying on his back, hands behind his head, kick back, relaxing, legs stretched completely out. Falls asleep, dozes off, wakes up because he realizes he has to use the restroom. And as he's getting up or attempting to get up, he comes to the realization that his legs aren't working, his lower legs, meaning, and to define lower legs, what I mean is the portion behind, halfway down his thigh, it's just dead. It's like there's no feeling. So he's trying to wiggle his toes. He's trying to twist his ankles. He's trying to bend his knees. None of this stuff is working. This goes on for about 4 or 5 minutes. And then finally he gets the feel back in his legs. He thinks it's odd and it's strange, and it really is odd and strange, but nonetheless, he thinks nothing more of it. Goes to the restroom. Goes to the restroom, uses the bathroom, flushes the toilet, comes on out. And when he comes out of the door, he sees this frightening thing. There is a man sitting on his bed, The gentleman that's sitting on his bed has no legs. He's an amputee patient. He is facing him. The guy is a white male. He has a white medical or hospital gown top on with a V-neck to it. Black hair, black goatee. Looks like a pretty young man. But the strangest thing was, not only was it in his bed, but this man had jet black eyes. And it was just sitting there staring at him when he came out of the bathroom. And so he does this kind of double take, like, hey, maybe I'm half asleep and I'm seeing things. Rubs his eyes a little bit, looks, and no, this thing is there. It's right in front of him. And then it lifts his arm and reaches for him. Oh, no. He runs out of the room, heads down the hallway, goes find, and he goes and find what they call coaches. Coaches are the people who kind of work the halls, kind of like an orderly if it was a mental hospital. This is not a mental hospital, but the closest thing I can compare it to. They call them coaches. He finds a coach and tells the coach, hey, man, you need to come to my room. The coach comes running to the room with him. Nobody's there. This is this young man's introduction to the drama that happens at this building. And so it sends him on this quest to kind of get to the truth in the bottom of all the paranormal experiences that are happening there. So he decides he's going to collect people's experiences. He gets a notebook, pen and pad, starts collecting the stories that have happened to other people who are there, people who work there, people who stay there, people who work in a cafeteria. He's essentially collecting this material. And one evening he's coming back from having dinner, heading back to his room, and he realizes that his door is unlocked and cracked and partially open. Now, he locked his door before he left, and as he opens the door, there's one of the coaches in the room rummaging through his stuff. He's like, yo, man, what are you doing in my room? And the guy's like, I'm not doing anything. The guy's taking his notes from him, confiscating his notes. He says, that's my personal property. You can't take it. Coach looks at him and says, listen, when you got admitted to this rehab center, we have the right to confiscate what we want to take. They confiscate his notes. Pisses him off completely. He's like, oh, you're going to take my notes? I'm around here trying to get all this information together. All right, I'm going to get to the bottom of it. Well, there's a myth in the hospital. I call it a myth because I haven't been able to verify it. He called it a myth until he had an opportunity to verify what was going on. Well, the myth was that there was a woman who died in the hospital a long time ago. She was in red. Her husband was in the hospital for tuberculosis. She came to visit her husband. Beautiful woman. Came to visit her husband. She was raped and killed, and they buried her body in the basement. To be specific, they put her body in the basement. I don't know if it was buried, but her body was put in the basement. So he decides, he gets this bright idea that he's going to go out, head on down to the basement, and see if he can find this actual lady in red. So he gets down there by 11:30, 11:45, and she's the story goes that the lady in red is known to appear around midnight. So he gets there. He's down in the basement. He's hiding. The security guards are walking through the basement. If you can imagine just being in a dark, dusty basement with a long corridor hallway, and then these little kind of adjacent little rooms where there's pipes and things of that nature that are there. Well, he's hiding off in a corner where he can see the walkway, but they can't necessarily see him. And so he witnesses and hears these two guards walking by, and one of the guards looks at his watch and he says, hey, it's getting close to midnight, man. We need to get out of here. And the other one's like, yeah, it's getting close to midnight. We need to go. We got to go. Something, we don't want to see this woman in red. The guy's like, look, I'm not going through that again. Let's go. So the two gentlemen exit up this little set of stairs, close the door behind them. Boom, they're gone. He's like, all right, I got it now. I'm here by myself. I'm wait to see what happened. Right at midnight, 12 o'clock a.m. to 12:01, he starts hearing these footsteps. And they're coming down the hallway towards him. And the way he described it was a woman's high heel shoes is what he heard. And the quick question I asked him was, how did you know it was a woman high heel shoes? He said, I know what a woman sounds like walking in high heels. So nonetheless, he hears these footsteps of a woman walking in high heel shoes, and it's coming down this long corridor towards him. So he's like, oh man, he's starting to freak out. So he kind of looks and he can't see anything, but he can hear it. And as he's looking, he starts to see this thing starting to manifest itself. He starts to see these colors of red. He starts to kind of see a face. And the next thing he knows, there's this full-blown apparition of this woman in red. He says she was an attractive woman with long black hair with a red dress and red shoes on. And she's right in front of him, looking at him. Now, the emotions that he felt when he was experiencing this was physically he was paralyzed. He couldn't move. I don't know if he was paralyzed because of fear. I don't know if he was paralyzed because she was that powerful, but he was paralyzed. And as he's sitting there, or as he's crouched down there, and this lady's looking at him, she looks him dead in the eyes. Doesn't say anything. Doesn't open her mouth to say anything. But the impression that she gave him was this purest form of hatred that he had ever felt in his life. And he imparted to me that the impression that she gave him was, I hate you because you're a man. I hate what men have done to me. I am here because of what you men have done to me. And he said it was the most powerful form of hatred he ever felt, but also he felt the most powerful form of fear he had ever felt. And then she just disappeared. Once she disappeared, he was able to move. Of course, he got up, hauled tail out of there, up the steps and back to his room. And so that's one of the stories that's fresh off the presses. Just talk to that gentleman. I appreciate him for sharing that story with me. And I appreciate him allowing me the opportunity to share that story. Next story comes from a older lady in her 60s. Sweet person. I've talked to her multiple times now. And I take that back. I only talked to her one time. I talked to her for an extended period of time. I misspoke. About 2.5, 3 hours, which the typical conversation lasts between 30 minutes. The first conversation lasts between 30 to 45 minutes. Then there's multiple hour conversations I have with people. But nonetheless, this was an extended conversation for a first conversation for me. And the reason why I extended is because I think she really got what we were doing here at the Dark Waters channel, and I appreciated it. So I really wanted to hear what she had to say, and I wanted to hear every word. So she shares these details of her childhood encounters in New Jersey. To paint the scene for you guys, if you can imagine a farmhouse out in the middle of nowhere, essentially. This is their home, a 3-story house, colonial style house, heavy sturdy construction, you know, the stuff of people's dreams. You know, that dream house for someone who likes to live out in the middle of nowhere. It's a 3-story colonial. It's like beautiful. Well, her family was comprised of herself, her 2 older sisters, her oldest brother, her mom, and her dad. And for overall, they were a happy family. Her dad was a war veteran. He had shell shock, and every now and then he would go on these rampages where he would kind of flip out and be extremely mean. Her mother was a kind woman who looked out for all the children. Probably nothing beyond typical for what happened back in those days. Well, this family had a significant amount of paranormal activity in their house. And so the story goes that when she was 7 or 8 years old, she was at home in her bedroom. Her mother had just tucked her in. And she's laying in her bed. And as the child, one of the things that I got in order to paint the picture for you guys, if you can recall being a kid, you remember as a child, everything was big to you as a child because everything was brand new. So everything was huge. You know, every little thing, things that to an adult were normal size was always huge for a kid. So she recalls laying in her bed and looking at this dresser, which is a 6-drawer dresser that goes straight up in the air with a mirror on top. And she remembers looking at it and just thinking how big it was, right? That's where her clothes are. And she's like, man, this thing is huge. And as she's looking at this dresser, I'm sorry, guys. And as she's looking at this dresser, she noticed this little light that starts shimmering from her closet. And she's observing the light, and it's kind of getting brighter and brighter and brighter. And just to paint the picture of the closet for you guys, we're talking about post-colonial construction, and your closet at home is a solid door, right? Well, if you can imagine your window blinds, the blinds that have the little rod that you turn left to right, and how they have those slats, take that, put it on a door, make it wooden. That's the closet she has, right? So the light comes shimmering through the slats in the closet. And she's observing it and kind of freaking out. Well, what's this light? What's going on? And that light turns into a mist, and it starts to kind of creep through the slats, all of them at the same time, which at this point in time, if I'm a kid that age, I'm running. But somehow she hung in there. And as this mist comes through, it starts to form into a figure. And she starts to see it take on this kind of fleshy color, and she can see it forming into a head. And it forms into the shape of this head of this man. This man had blonde hair with a ponytail, with a red ribbon in it. He had a blonde mustache. Looked regular in the face altogether. He looked like he was and she described him as like an older, maybe World War I soldier or a Revolutionary War soldier. Exactly, Revolutionary War soldier is what she said he looked like. And this face starts gliding across the room towards her. Now, at this point in time, this little girl is feeling every probably fear and emotion you can. And I asked her, so why didn't you scream? She said, I couldn't. I was just too scared to scream. I was too scared to run. I was too scared to move. That was what she was feeling. She was too afraid to do anything as this face came towards her closer and closer. And then it opens its mouth, and it's almost like it's trying to talk, but it can't say anything. So it makes this noise that is like the creepiest noise in the world. Scares her to death, literally scares her to death. And it picks up speed, gets closer and closer and closer, and to the point to where it's right up on her. And the only thing she can do is to think to lay back down in the bed to let it go past her. As she lays back, it flies over her head and goes into the wall. Oh my goodness, she starts screaming and hollering for her mom and her dad, saying there's a man in her room with a ribbon in his head, and her parents come rushing into the room, kicking, like barging into the room, barging into the door. She's trying to explain what's going on, but we're talking about a little kid who's terrified out of her mind, and the only thing she can utter is, he had a red ribbon. Of course, you wake your parents up out of sleep in the middle of the night, and you're talking about a red ribbon, and they're like, what the hell is wrong with you? Go your behind back to sleep. And she's forced to stay in that room the rest of the night after she just witnessed this ghost manifest itself and come towards her. Sidebar note, ladies and gentlemen, if you have a child and that child says they see a ghost or they hear a noise, please, please, please console that child. Let them come get in your bed. Please, just let them in. It'll be all right. It's just one night, right? You'll get some sleep tomorrow night. So she goes on to tell me the rest of these stories that are happening in her household. Again, paranormal activity is commonplace in this household. All these children have all witnessed these different forms of paranormal activity. Especially this man manifested himself in the house with this red ribbon. Her older sister, 3-story colonial house. Her older sister's room is upstairs on the 3rd floor. To paint the picture, somewhat of a loft room, but not a complete loft. Needless to say, the sister is separated from the rest of the family, which is a significant part of what's going on. The younger sister is who the person who's telling me the story. She goes to her sister's room, and her sister's putting Noxzema on her face. And I'm old enough to remember Noxzema, the white bottle with the blue lid. Everybody uses it on their face to take care of acne and things of that nature. And she's like, hey, can you give me some Noxzema? Can you give me some Noxzema? Her sister's like, no, you're too young to use this. But she puts a little dab on her nose, slaps on her butt, says, go to bed, right? So she goes back to her bedroom, settles in to sleep. A few minutes later, the house erupts into pandemonium. The older sister's upstairs screaming, saying, somebody's in my room. There's a man in my room. There's a man in my room. Help, there's a man in my room. Everybody breaks out of their rooms. The older brother has a golf club. The mother has a kitchen knife. They all grabbing weapons and whatever they can grab their hands on, trying to get into this older sister's room. They can't get into the door, although the door is supposed to be unlocked. They can't get into the door. Their father, who's about 6'6" to be exact, 200-something pounds, is barging and bamming into the door. He can't get in the door. The daughter is screaming, losing her mind, because whatever's on the other side of that door has her frightened to death. Literally scared to death. Eventually they get the door open, right? When they get in the room, her mirror on her dresser is completely covered with Noxzema. Her book report that she was working on, which is what she was doing that night in her room, is completely torn to shreds, and there's a portion of it stuck to the Noxzema on the mirror. Also, on the mirror, there's a handprint. A rather very, very large handprint is on the mirror. And so, of course, this is a big family. The first logical thought process is someone's playing a joke on someone else and we don't appreciate it. So of course the older brother's the first person to signal out, hey man, why are you seeking attention? Why are you doing this to your sister? He's like, listen, I didn't do anything. His mother says, hey, put your hand up to the handprint and let's check to see if it's your hand. He puts his hand up. It's way bigger than his hand, right? So the only logical person left to put their hand up is their father. All the rest of the people in the house are females. No female in the house is going to have a handprint that big. So the father puts his hand up and it's bigger than his handprint. At this point in time, they all freaking out because they're trying to figure out how and who got inside this room. So they grab their shotguns, they grab bats, the father and the brother, they go outside of the house because they're thinking maybe someone snuck up the side of the house on this little lattice that's connected to the side of their house. They walk out. Keep in mind, one of the partial parts I didn't tell you, it's snowing outside. So they're outside walking around the house looking for prints. They don't find any footprints anywhere around the side of the house. More so a print from where someone climbed up or jumped down out of the window. Everyone is completely and totally confused. The father, at this point in time, who did not acknowledge the paranormal activity, is forced to acknowledge the activity that's happening in the house. They're like freaking all out. And it goes awry from him from there, right? Meanwhile, a couple of weeks pass, things kind of settle down. The mother says, hey, I want another pantry. I want more pantry space at my house. So she talks her husband, which is their father, into knocking out a wall to build a pantry, right? So the father and the brother start beating away at this wall, knocking it out, and they discover something. They discover a room that's behind where in the kitchen that connects off of the kitchen. And inside this room, they find some letters that were very, very old. And we're talking about Revolutionary Army, Revolutionary War old. A dusty leather notebook with a red ribbon on it. And they find a set of stairs. The set of stairs go up, curve all the way up, and guess where they come out at? They come out in the oldest sister's bedroom closet. Now, the closet is closed off. There's a wall there, but that's where it led to. And so this family experienced multiple types of paranormal activity in their lifetime while they were there. The story takes a sad turn because her mother dies, right? In fact, before her mother dies, her mother and her father get a divorce because her father's being abusive. Her mother dies, and now she's off without a mother, which is very painful for any child. And then she tells me another story. The other story is about, she's a little bit older. She with some friends' family. She's at their house. And she's very excited about this as a little girl because they have a swimming pool. Something that not many people that she knew had, which is an in-ground swimming pool. So her and her friend have been in the pool all day. They're swimming back and forth. Two cute little girls in the pool, hopping out of the pool, wrapping the towels around themselves, running around, being little girls, you know. The one thing that we love as parents is our daughters and all the sons. We love our children, right? Being little girls. They're hanging out. They get tired of swimming. Both decide they're going to sit at this little table and chair next to the pool. And her friend suggests that they play some board games. Keep in mind, this is before the video game era. This is before the iPad, iPhone, all the rest of that crap that distracts everybody. So they're like, look, we're going to play some board games. Monopoly, Sorry. These are the things that are out at that point in time. So a friend comes running out of the house with this stack of board games. The one on the very bottom is a Ouija board. So I don't know why they chose to do this, but out of all the games, they decide they're going to play the Ouija board. Now, keep in mind, this young lady's mother just passed not too long ago. And so deep down inside, it could be that she was hoping that her mother would contact her through this Ouija board. Well, needless to say, they set up the Ouija board. I believe it's called a planchet. The little triangular piece. I don't want to mispronounce it. But they put their hands on the piece of the Ouija board that moves. Very first time they both put their hands on it, kind of jerks left, right, moves a little bit. They freak out like, wait, why are you playing? Did you touch it? No, I didn't touch it. Did you touch it? No, I didn't touch it. Take a break. They're like, this is kind of weird. Maybe we shouldn't do it. Nah, they decide they're going to proceed forward. They go and do it again. They put their hands on the planchet. It jets a little bit to the left, then it darts a little bit to the right, then it moves left, right, and then it flies off the table, taking a trajectory that takes it upwards into the air, out over the swimming pool, carries a little bit of a distance, then it drives itself down into the water in the swimming pool. When I say drive, they witnessed this small piece of plastic. Now, it's heavy because back in those days, everything was really constructed very well. It wasn't as cheap crap that people use nowadays, but it was heavy enough to fall into the water, but it drove down into the water like it had force, bubbles coming from under it, as it seemed like some force pushed it down into the water. And halfway down in the water, it stopped, and it kind of floated down left to right like any other thing would float down into the water. So these two girls get up running like, oh my God, what is going on? What is happening? They both run to the side of the pool. They look, hey, get in the pool and get it. No, I'm not getting in there. You get it. Like, nah, I'm not getting it. So that piece of plastic stays in the pool for the next 2 days while she's spending the night at her friend's house until her friend's father fishes it out of the pool with the long net. Now, just to touch on why that portion I believe is significant. I think that at some point in time, and I'll elaborate on this and then I'm done. I think something did not want her playing with that Ouija board. And I say that because of what I just recently experienced while we're trying to record this video. The first time I tried to record this video, it was very early in the morning, and there was this growling sound that came through my headset, which freaked me out. I think I told you guys that earlier. Just now, as I'm re-recording the video telling the stories again, when I get to the portion to get my explanation, it completely cuts off. It freezes. Luckily, I'm able to save the audio and then start over again. So something's going on with that. I respectfully tell the story, and I'm not trying to exploit the story. I'm just sharing the story. So I'm going to be respectful about that, and I'm going to end this video here because clearly something has an issue with this particular story or one of these sets of stories. And that's some of the things that I often experience when I'm recording, especially when I'm doing live. Like when I'm on the radio live, a lot of weird crap happens. You guys never hear me talk about it because I've gotten used to it, but a lot of weird things happen, especially when I'm live, like hearing stuff through the phone, all kind of stuff. But oh guys, and just as a final point, I wanted to say that there's a significant difference between narrating stories and telling stories. Just from an oral tradition, stories used to be passed on from person to person, and actually the secrets of tribes and nations were typically never written down unless they were in some form of what's the word, not codex, but cipher. So oral traditions have always been the strength of societies, and orators have always been the strength of communities and societies. And I want to encourage anybody who wants to fall under the banner of orating as opposed to narrating. If there's anything I can do to help you, I'm here to help. All you have to do is reach out. Unlike some of the other things you experience, you're not going to have to kiss my behind to get my help. I'm going to help you. I want to see you grow. My philosophy is success by addition, not success by subtraction. And those of you who have come in contact with me already know that. So I'm here for you. If you're getting your start, you're just starting, and you're going into orating stories or becoming a storyteller, doing similar to what I'm doing, I'll be more than happy to help you. I appreciate you guys. I love you. Thank you. I hope you guys really enjoy this. It's not that long, 25 minutes, but it's some good stories. And I'll be doing more and more of these in between stories so I can give you stuff fresh off the boat that normally would sit there for 15, 20 days before I got to it. This is Dark Waters signing off. I appreciate you guys, and I'll talk to you soon. Hey guys, there's one thing I forgot too. Yeah, I completely forgot this, and I want to add this in. Sorry, I had to come right back so you guys have to say goodbye. But I remember I told you about how we should travel well as a Dark Waters family. And one of the things I want to do is I want to support those who support us and those who help us. I don't want to ever just take advantage of somebody, having me on their show, or just I don't take anything for granted, right? So 2 things. In the link below, in the description below, you're going to find the link to Michelle Nestor's channel. And Michelle is the young lady who helps us with our intros and everything else. She's been riding with the Dark Waters family for a very long time. She's the very first person to collaborate with us. She is what makes us successful. So I need you guys to head on over, take some time, and subscribe to her channel. Secondly, Lon Strickland. Lon Strickland has had me on his show. Lon was the guy who received the hate mail and everything else, and still had me on. A wonderful, phenomenal guy. Lon is getting ready to start putting more content on YouTube himself, and I want you guys to head on over to Lon's channel and subscribe. I am putting this in the description. I am putting it as cards on the video. I'm gonna make it very, very easy for you guys to head on over there and subscribe to them. It's just a matter of clicking. So please, as many of you as you can, as possible, head on over. It's 11,000 of us, and if just this 11,000 of us were to support these channels, they won't have any problems, right? So if 5,000 of our 11,000 went over and supported them, they will be getting off to a hell of a start. And again, this is something that nobody did for me, and this is something that I want to do for you. Pause. Britton Salwin helped me out. Vic Cundiff helped me out. So please, gentlemen, I am not speaking about you when I say that. I'm talking about the narrating community. You guys are exceptional, and I appreciate you. Thank you so much. But needless to say, guys, you get the drift of what I'm saying. head on over, subscribe, help them out. Let's get them rolling. Let's get the ball rolling. If you guys don't know about Lon Strickland and Phantoms and Monsters blog, then if you want to see some freaky stuff, you want to read some freaky stuff, head on over to his Phantoms and Monsters blog, and you will see what I'm talking about. Also, Lon and I are doing a collaboration coming up real soon with some of the stories from his channel. He's graciously allowed us to use several of his stories, and Lon's just an overall good guy. And there are a lot of great people that are out here that are horror. They're authors and radio talk show hosts, and again, I told you guys, success by addition, never success by subtraction. And this is addition, and that's what we do as a Dark Waters family. We do success by addition, and hopefully some other people will follow this example, and then we'll make some changes in how people function and how things grow and how things move. So, guys, please, thank you. I appreciate you. I love you. Bye-bye. I'll talk to you later. I'm going to stop running. I'm out and rambling, and bada bing, bada boom. Bye.